Right then, so we finally got to the stage now where we can start filling this space in. There's a couple of items to deal with. I've got to solvent weld this waste for the sink, which I was doubting was the right height. It was maybe a bit too high, but looking at it again now, I think it's fine. So I'm going to sort that out, and then essentially it's just filling in all of the gaps. So for the most part, we've got some insulation to put back in. Then we've got some plasterboard, if you remember from the plasterboard videos. Cut the pieces fairly decently, so hopefully I can just reuse those pieces rather than getting new plasterboard. Put those in place. Once all the plasterboard's all sorted, sitting on this wall here, then we're going to start waterproofing. So I've got waterproof boards to put across all of the walls across in this space and over here as well. The toilet's in already, you see, so I'll put over that. And then when that's done and the boards are in, then I can think about finishing the floor, boarding out the floor, waterproofing the floor, including installing the shower base. And when that's done, I'll seal up all of the corners. My intention is to fully finish this space so I can walk out of it, minus a couple of things like when I come to install the mirror and the electrics, but the holes will be there and the wires will be there ready. But if I can pretty much close the door on this space, in theory then, I can move into the space there, which is maybe home straight, maybe not. But that will essentially be the last part of the bathroom, the most complex part being the bath. It doesn't really look like it, but I think most of the complex work has been done. I'm trying not to drink some self now. So I'm going to crack on now, just finish off this bit of solvent weld here, then I'll start filling all of this space in. I'll take a few snaps and drop in for a video update here or there, just to let you know what's going on. And then hopefully I can begin to exit out the space and finish the bathroom. So crack on. Okay, so I've used all the insulation that came out the wall. I've put it in place now, and I'm kind of thinking I've actually got some spare insulation from when I did the conversion on the other side of the house. So I'm going to take the opportunity to utilise some of that insulation to double insulate this. Most on the basis it could be a fairly noisy space, and there's a bedroom that backs onto this. So I've got one layer in, which I think was maybe 40mm. I'm thinking from this, I can't remember. I know for sure it's 40mm roll I've got downstairs. So I'm just going to cut it up, slot it in place just to give it a double layer of insulation. I think it's double breathable as well, so it shouldn't block the air too much, but we'll add in a bit of sound protection between this bathroom, certainly the shower space, which will be fairly noisy, I would assume, and then the bedroom that backs onto this. So I'm going to go and do that now. I'm taking a little snap afterwards to show you what I've done. Right. Okay, so second layer of insulation done now. Absolutely covered in the stuff, I think it's in my eyeballs as well. So this isn't the insulation actually intended to use up here. When I went into the garage, I found this insulation, which I remembered I utilised this to soundproof the roof in the office. So this is actually sound insulation. I figured why not use it, it was sitting in a black bag doing nothing. So there's my double layer on, so I've got at least, it's not, this one wasn't 40mm, it's more like 20mm maybe. So I've got about 60-70mm of insulation in between the wall now, so hopefully that's good enough sound insulation between this bathroom and then the bedroom on the other side. So I'm going to have plasterboard as well, of course, and then I'm also going to tile back out and tiles. Hopefully it doesn't become too noisy for the bedroom on the opposite side. So now I've done this now, I'm going to go and get a broom, try and wash off some of this insulation. After I come back, I'll put the plasterboard back on, I'll take a snap when I do that then, and then I'll be putting my tile board on, but I'll be doing the tile back from this side round most likely. I'll show you as I get through it. Right, see you in a bit. Right, so I've finished this step now. It's a little like Frankenstein. Some of the boards that are on the bottom, it's been installed a long time, broke. So I had to replace a couple. And then I added the scrim tape because I did fully intend to just give it like a rough skim, at least so it's all single surface. And then I figured because I'm putting tile back a board on, what am I really gaining? So I decided against that. I'll take the scrim tape off for now. Did have a slight problem though with some of the older boards and some of the newer boards. I only noticed when I was putting the scrim tape on, but there's like a mil, 2 max difference. And that's not plasters on there, these are just the boards themselves. So I'm hoping that when I put the tile backer boards on, you won't be really noticed. Made a bit of a pig's ear around some of the holes as well, just bad measuring really. So when I was trying to measure from the end, I wasn't really taking into account that the board that came out went into the wall another 10-15mm. Some holes were out, likewise the top and bottom as well. But this needed a bigger space anyway, so that's fine, then I can make it smaller when I put a tile backer board on. And then, if you remember when I did the shower, I've got my outlets. This one is just on the surface now, which is not right because there's going to be the tile backer board and tiles. And then this is underneath, which I knew they were going to be off anyway. And I decided to make it up with the small coupler extensions. I'll find what they're called properly because I'll need to get some as well. Looking at it, I'm guessing this is going to be about a 10mm difference to this one when I get it, so that'll be different sizes. But that'll be me then being able to get the shower and then the handheld extension out the right depth as well out of the wall. So now I've covered it all with plaster board at least. Next step is just to waterproof board this whole space. So I'm going to start in this corner. I've got a tricky corner, I'll take a picture of it when I get closer. And then I'll work my way around this space. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to tile back aboard this toilet wall yet. I'm going to make that decision. I kind of feel I should waterproof the whole area just in case. But I'll see how we get on as I go around. But certainly with this wall, all the walls round, and then once I've done all the wall tile backer wise, I'll then turn attention to the floor. So I've got some solvent weld to do in terms of the pipes going out to the waste. There's some solvent weld the waste set as well. And then I've got the plywood to put down and the tile backer board. So I shouldn't spend too long, it's a dangerous thing to say, I shouldn't spend too long moving through these stages now. These are pretty knobby jobs. Most of the complexities is done behind the wall. So I'll start moving my way around now. Get it all covered up, take a snap, show you, and then that'll be it for this particular piece of work. Then I'm going to crack on and I'll see you in a bit. Just a super quick video before I get started on the tile backer board. So because I didn't put in some of the timbers behind the walls here, a lot of them because it's done before my time, I just wanted to make sure I knew where they all were before I went ahead and planned to put my tile backer board on. So I'm a bit light on this wall here. Ultimately the one piece that's on the left is hidden, so I might be able to get some long screws and head in, and then there's a nice piece running along here which is fine, and there's a few struts going across, that's fine. On this wall I was able just to follow the screws here. I did use a stud finder as well just to double verify, if you will, so I've got a nice amount of coverage in terms of going horizontal and vertical, and I know exactly where they are around here because I installed that, so that's fine as well. Moving on to this wall, it becomes quite clear really. I had this open so I know where a lot of that woodwork is, along here as well, and then also going horizontally across here and then following the vertical lines here and here. So I know exactly where everything is in these spaces, so it makes it a lot easier to plan for it. Now what I've decided on this wall, which is the toilet wall, is I don't think I want to tile back this wall here. I think the reason because on this wall over here, heavy wet area, it's going to be soaked every day, 5 times plus a day. I need to follow through this wall, the same material, rather than dealing with the change in step in the depth. But this wall, it shouldn't really be getting soaked. You know, the water hopefully shouldn't be running across the bathroom to here, and it shouldn't be getting heavy rain, heavy water on top of it. So I'm probably not going to tile back this board, at least not right now. And instead what I'll do is I'll use the Hydroban, the waterproof membrane, which is this green stuff here, and I'll paint this wall. It will still be fully waterproof and tanked, but it won't have a tile backer board on. I just figured there's no point wasting another handful of panels when I can use them on, say, the bath wall, which is going to be over here. So for now I'm going to leave that wall. I'll tile backer these 3 walls, including inside of the niche, and then I'll be back in a bit. So this is this room finally boarded up now. I've got boards around all the sides. I was considering putting boards on, leaving the toilet wall, more so because it's not in direct path of water, and also I'm using these boards pretty quick. And I feel like I've got plenty of the liquid Hydroban, which I'm going to use for that, which I'll do next. Some tricky parts being some of the holes. There's a really good technique I learned somewhere on YouTube where let me quickly get one. Here's what I found earlier. So rather than measuring the holes themselves, instead you just basically use a stick, mark the stick, the height, the width, and then transpose that onto the boards. Really, really good way to do it. Saves a lot of time. Also, I had a bit of a backtracking because this is a couple of weeks later since the last video. I had to bring this out a little bit further. So what I did, when I installed the shower valve, I've gone back as far as I can with this without literally going into the other room. So that's quite secure on a 2x4 behind here, but it's as far back as it can go. And when I was putting on the original 6mm board, I noticed it was protruding a little bit, and it would have been touch and go whether or not I would have got the shower valves on without there being a gap. So I ended up going back to the store and I got myself a 12.5mm, pretty good price actually for these in the end. So that's given me an extra 6mm, so I don't have to make up, you know, 1 centimetre or nearly 1 centimetre. It would feel like in tile adhesive, so that's good there. The rest of it's on, so I used these screws and then these washers, which are Wedi branded. I'm sure there's other ones as well. These are all secure in place. A few touch and go moments around here where I didn't do my measuring as well as I'd hoped, so I had to sort of retrace photographs and things to work out where my pipe work was, but I'm happy where that is now. All these are solid. I have to spend a bit more time in the niche, so that's all in solid now. For the back of the niche, what I have to do is glue it in, because the back wall is an outside wall, or a hallway wall, so I couldn't screw into that, so that's all insecure. I did start to cover up some of the screws with the liquid, which goes super quick. This Wedi Wedi 610. So this is supposed to be for all of the joins and the screw holes, any holes you made. This is the product for it. You go through this so quick. I think I've got now another 4 tubes of this, knowing I'm going to use it all as well. But I have still got a lot of the liquid Hydroban, which I will use in replacement when I run out of this stuff. So the next step in this general space is to use this product, this 610. Cover up all my screw holes, scrape over and smooth over. For my valves here, I've got these gloves, I guess, socket gloves, whatever you want to call them, which wrap around, and then you can seal around them, so that will protect the wood from going into the gaps. All of the creases I've got is I've got Wedi tape, which is basically overpriced really. You might as well just get builders or plaster fiberglass tape, which will be totally fine. So I'm going to cover up all my joins. When everything's joined up and ready to go, then I'll start lacking on this. Like I said, I've got 4 tubs. I reckon I'm going to get through at least 2 in this space, probably more to be honest. Also in the niche, I need to go around all the gaps and cover those up as well, and then cover it in this. Once I've done that, I'm then going to move on to the bathroom wall, and on the bathroom wall, toilet wall, sorry, I'll just paint in that with the Hydroban, the original green product I've used in a couple of spaces. So I'm going to quickly turn the camera around and show you the bits I've done, and then I'll crack on from there. So it's coming at a different angle now. So in between all the joins, we've gone for the Wedi screws, and this was one of the basic tips that I learned, is using the screw in the middle to pinch, because these aren't mega cheap. And it saves putting a load more holes in, so you pinch the boards in the middle rather than putting too many on. All these are pretty solid. These are 2.5 m pieces wide and then cut to shape, a few tricky parts. You see my plenty of markings where I was trying to find the holes there. There's my niche, so I'm quite happy with that. That's fairly flush, but I'm not so worried about this being neat, because when I tile this out, I'll be putting beading, which will probably protrude it a little bit anyway. When I do go in here, sorry, coughing, I've got this dust in my throat. In these gaps down here, I'll be taping and then sealing with this stuff here. It's basically silicone, but it's Wedi branded, it's recommended, so I'm going for that. This is a space I'm trying to work out what to do at the moment. I've got the bit where it meets the board meets the brick, because the bricks aren't perfectly straight, just the nature of it, I guess. I'm not sure how I'm going to finish at the moment. I've just put a seal down here, but I think what I might do is double board that and do another thick seal, because I might bead it, and I'm not really 100% sure, so I'll decide on that at a later point. But for now at least, I'm going to put tape across all these joins, and then I'll be sealing these bits and then all of the joins. And then on this wall over here, currently where the toilet is, I'm not going to put any of this board on. I figured it was wasteful. Instead, I'm just going to paint that whole wall, because it'll be dead quick, and I think it's totally legitimately fine. And then I'll move on to the next stage. I'm going to crack on, I'll show you when I'm done. I just figured it was a quick close-up of these. So I've just mentioned about the shower valves, and ultimately it was coming too far out because the wall I was working in behind, I couldn't really do much about it without making this wall stick out a lot more. So this is just about going to be okay. I'll have a few mil play, so I don't have to go too thick with the tile adhesive. On the opposite side, so this is one of the outlets, the handheld one, and then at the top there, the shower head. Now the opposite problem here, where these couldn't stick out enough, that's totally fine, because there's a product, I will find the name of it, which essentially screws into here, so your PTFE or whatever other liquid or substance you're going to use to make sure it doesn't leak. That will screw into here, and then I can play with the depths of that. I think they go as low as 25 mil. I think as high as about, no, lower than 25 mil, probably about 50 mil maybe. And then up to about 35 mil maybe. So I've got plenty of space. So when the tiles are on, I'll make the call on whatever the depth is, because I should still be able to get my fingers in there, get this tape off, and then get the right length on according to the attachment that I've got. Likewise up there, that'll be a bit different because the attachment can go a bit deeper, so I won't need it to be as deep. But I thought I'd give you a quick close up on that. That is not a problem to be worried about, because there's a product for it. This is more of a problem to have, in terms of coming too far out. Going too far in, you've got plenty to play with this. What I did notice is this shower valve, compared to others I've seen on YouTube and stuff, this didn't come with like a preset casing. I've seen some with a preset casing which ultimately you build around, so you're already starting off in a good place. Versus here, I mentioned on my video when I installed it, the instructions online and the paper instructions, which were terrible, were conflicting. So I went somewhere in the middle and it was just a little bit too close for comfort. That's why I went for a 12.5mm board here instead of a 6mm board. But that's one thing I'd watch out for when I do this again, is I'd rather be deeper with this, within reason, than too far out, because too far out then you're messing with the wall too much. And if this was just a small wall, you know, if it was just like a sliver like this here, I could maybe lift it out and build it out, but because this is quite a big wall, just to cover this here was not cheap in this product, so I'd rather not do that again. So yeah, just thought I'd quickly show you that is more of a problem if it's too far out than this is if it's too far in. There's always a product for this, and I don't think they're very expensive, and I'll be able to get it from Amazon, so next day delivery as and when I need it. Right, so I'm wrapping up for the night. I have used about 5 or 6 of these, and not that cheap. So you can see where I've used for the tape, I've got gaps. I genuinely felt like I wouldn't have enough. So I've covered in all of the main cracks and gaps where the screws are. And this stuff is really thick and really sticky. And then what I did for the wall out here was paint it with the lacquer Hydroban. So what I'm going to do when all of this sets and dries, and it looks like a bit of a massacre over here, but I think I've got all the gaps. But once it's all settled and dried, I'm going to go over with the Hydroban. I can lay that on pretty thin, cover everything, allow me to do another layer. It will look even more of a mess, but I'll know that I've got the thick layer, solid, so to speak, and then I'll have the 2 layers of Hydroban over the top, so we should be in a pretty good state. I think for the most part, it seems like it's going to do a good job, but yeah, ran through a lot of these. So I'm going to let this dry overnight, do another layer on this wall with the Hydroban, fill in all the bits I think I want to do up here with the Hydroban. I need to wait and do another layer on that. I'll recap at the end of that, and then that will be all of this top layer of waterproof. Okay, this is me now just wrapping up, waterproofing the walls, I guess, within this upper space in the bathroom. So maybe a little bit overkill, but I did use the Wedi 610 on all of the gaps and all of the seams. What I was finding was the seam tape is quite large, so I would have to use a considerable amount more of the Wedi 610, the caulk. So instead what I opted for, I had a nice 1.5" layer across all of the joints with the 610, and then I had some leftover Hydroban, which I've used for some of the walls, the green stuff, and I've gone over with that on the gap. So I feel quite comfortable even in the lower parts of the corners, and within the niche I feel quite comfortable where we've got to. I also then use the rest of it just to repaint this wall to give it 2 nice coats. So I say now we're pretty much done with the waterproofing of this whole space at the upper level. Now I can get moving on to the sort of lower level now. So I've got the shower tray to fit, which I'll do a separate video for that I think. The waste, which I've already done behind the wall you've seen, but I'll be connecting that all up, including solving well the joints. And then once that's in place, I'll do some water tests, make sure it's okay, and then I'll start to board out, which I've already pre-cut the boards, so I just need to glue and screw the boards, and then finally waterproof the deck on this space. Once that's done, this space is pretty much then ready to be tiled, and because the next step after that is moving into the other half of the bathroom, which will be primarily the bath really, bath taps, and then I've got a small cabin I need to prep for the walls of the week, so I'm going to reinforce it. But for now at least, the waterproofing on the upper level I'm done. Took a lot longer than I expected, as with a lot of these jobs, but I can walk out of here now knowing that we're in a good waterproof state, at least above surface. Alright, I'll see you on the next one.